Sonic Talk.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sonic Talk, episode 420. Sonic Talk, episode 421. 421, of course, is also the number of the Sennheiser classic Sennheiser dynamic mic, much favoured for its use of on tom-toms, kick drums, bass cabinets, and also voiceovers. I also heard. Yes, an unusual mic in the fact that it's got that thing kind of almost across the front of it, but that's really beside the point. Episode 41, Sonic Talk. We are music technology and music technology recording production website podcast. Oh, that was a terribly constructed sentence, but there are better ones, and I'm sure if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you'll be able to hear a lot of them because we've got a lot of content going up, as well as this, which is every week. If you haven't already experienced the Sonic Talk experience, today could be the day. So I want to say, first of all, thank you to our show sponsors. We have Isotope, who are going to be giving away a copy of Break Tweaker a little bit later in the show. And also I want to say thanks to our chat room. There's a nice fulsome chat room, as I like to say. And also I want to say thank you to our guests, who I will be getting onto just periodically. That, again, was the wrong choice of words, but it doesn't matter. So let's go to Mr. Gaz Biker Williams, who's there looking very like motorcycly today. Gaz Williams, of course, is a bass player, producer, music technologist. How are you, Gaz?
Yeah, good, thanks. Just got back from a really bonkers trip up in Manchester, performing an anti-austerity gig with Charlotte Church. And now, for people in Britain, she doesn't need an introduction so much, but
child prodigy.
Well, she was a big star from the age of 12. I think by the age of 13 she'd sung in front of the Pope and in the White House, amongst other things. It's crazy. By the time she was 16, she'd lived 100 lifetimes, but now she's
very active, isn't she? Politically active.
Yeah, it's great. So the Conservative Party conference is going on in Manchester at the moment, which is a bit ironic because that's like, Manchester is traditionally a very socialist city. So it's just really good fun just to go up there and
cause a bit of trouble.
No, but Charlotte, the tabloids are at her really kind of harsh, because they're seeing her as a hypocrite because she's speaking out about kindness and inclusion and equality and things like that, all those awful things.
How dare she?
Great gig with her and the Super Furry Animals.
Wow.
Loads of cool comedians turned up, and we had a ball. It was brilliant.
Did you manage to photobomb any national media shots, Gaz? Are we going to see you anywhere?
I haven't seen any yet, but it's the stuff that they were writing about Charlotte in the paper yesterday was just such utter lies. Yeah. And when you're kind of with someone and you're really kind of seeing things for real and then seeing the tabloid version of events, it's wicked what goes on, man. Musicians, we are the revolutionaries. Come on, that's how I feel.
Good for you, Gaz. Well, I'm glad to hear it, and I'm glad to hear you got to hang out with Charlotte Church, who has she was a very precocious child star, and now she's a particularly attractive young woman. And I don't know if that's wrong of me to say that, but she's such an appealing individual.
I first worked with her when she was 11, you see, and then I've worked with her when she was 16 or 21, different times over her career, and it's just been fascinating to see her going from this unbelievable, I think she'd sold 10 million albums by the age of 14, perhaps.
Wow.
Which is astonishing, to now. She was on Question Time on telly last week, which is like Britain's sort of big political TV show, I suppose.
So
it's just peculiar, but also a great thrill to know her and to be involved.
Excellent. Right, well, I'm glad to have you aboard, Gaz. Let's move over to Mr. Robbie Bronnimann, who's back in the production loft somewhere in the west of England, where he's working on an album currently, and whose client has very kindly given him an hour off. Is this in lieu of lunch, Robbie? I hope it's not.
No, I've already had my lunch. I've already had my edamame bean salad. So,
jealous.
That was a 5-minute little lunch.
Yeah, no, don't like that. Put it away. Yeah. Well, Robbie, of course, music producer, as he is in his role at the moment. It looks like you've got an electronic drum kit set up there.
We've got a V-drum kit, which we connect up to Superior play parts in. So, yeah, because the guy I'm working with, Simon Collins, he's obviously the son of legendary Phil Collins, and he too is a drummer as well as a singer. So, so we utilise that wherever we can.
Do you get him to dress up in a gorilla suit and play the fill?
Not yet.
Okay, maybe you don't know him well enough. That's probably very amiss of me to say something like that. But
yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Well, it sounds like you're having a lot of fun there. Of course, Robbie's also a composer and many other things as well. Right, and we've also got Mark Tinley, and the phone is going.
Me?
How are you, Mark?
Oh, I wondered what that was. I thought I can hear weird musicy things. How am I? What can I say while the phone's going? I wonder. I've taken up a new hobby, which is like dog showing. How about that? I took my golden retriever to a golden retriever dog show, as you do, and he won a rosette, much to the annoyance of some of the other participants, because he was really badly behaved. And he's a clown, and they say dogs are like their owners, so I'm worried about that.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for filling for me there, Mark. Mark Tinley,
well.
I'm well. Also, sound artist, creative thinker, and all about sort of music chap. I'm glad to hear that.
Can I just mention something? I'll just say something else as well. I thought Ty Unwin mentioned something last week, and I thought I'd test him on it, because he said that he goes on this website called Sampleism a lot and buys all of the stuff from there. So I thought, well, in that case, I'll release some samples on Sampleism, which I've done. And I've noticed he hasn't bought them yet. So
he's in the chat room, I believe.
There's a challenge.
Let's have a look, see if he's going past. No, not yet. I can't see him commenting. He's probably thinking about it. Oh, I want to say hi to Lee Kemp in there, who came over. He's also a Bristol guy. Nice to meet you, Lee. Anyway, let's get back to the matter in hand. We've got things to talk about. Last week's podcast actually just seemed to be mistimed in terms of there was lots and lots of stuff that came out the day after. So this is the first of them. Or it will be if it plays. This is a really massive video file, so it's probably just thinking about it a bit. So, Ollie, we're here at the special Novation Circuit launch. So, Circuit, a very interesting new piece of hardware, right?
Yeah, this is a very exciting product launch for me. Perhaps the most exciting thing that I've been working on at Novation. It's our first groove box. It takes the same pads that we use on our launch pads. So these are velocity sensitive RGB backlids pads. So you've got a grid of 32 pads, some macro encoders at the top. I can actually show you the back. It's got...
Right, so it's not... Oh, that was me rather rudely interrupting him, which I'm doing again by muting the video. But you can watch the whole thing. We had a bit of a lucky... we went up to the press launch. In fact, last week I was really knackered because my train got delayed, and that's what I was filming. I know many of you were hoping it was going to be Roland Boutique stuff, but it was, in fact, the Novation Circuit, which is a kind of hybrid launch pad stroke beatbox, groove box. And it's a very interesting... kind of set of features. Actually, it seems very low cost. It's 249 quid. It's got 2 6-voice synth parts and 4 drum parts. Synth Engine is currently controlled by macros, though there did seem to allude to the fact that it might be possible to get in there and start dealing with the individual parameters via software at some point in the future. But the idea is, I mean, their whole campaign about starting something, finish something, which I think we might have covered on the podcast, was kind of about just picking it up, making something, and not having to turn the computer on. And that's the whole kind of concept for it. And it's got some really clever uses of the grid, which they've been pioneering in the Launchpad Pro. I'll come to you first, Gaz, because we've got a Launchpad Pro review sort of in the can, ready to go with you. And there are a lot of similarities here, and they've used a lot of the similar things. So I just wondered what you thought of this, whether you thought this might be something that you would appreciate. It's got a mini speaker and it's battery powered. What more could you ask?
I actually think it's pretty awesome. I think it's an interesting thing that they've done as well, because the pots aren't labelled, are they?
No.
So in a way, there's a little bit. I think, I can remember another little kind of all-in-one battery-powered thing with a speaker on that has got unlabelled pots as well. OP1. So I thought, oh, it's quite interesting that they're doing that. There's a little bit of a kind of connection there, but also it's a bit like all the Volkers rolled into
all at
one.
once, yeah, kind of, yeah.
You know, so I think it's quite an interesting thing that it's a real hybrid of a whole bunch of things. Now, the Launchpad Pro, the sensitivity of the pads are absolutely brilliant. I was mega impressed with them, and in the review, I do a thing where I just trail my finger along them to demonstrate some of the fader actions. Not the fast tapping fader where you can disable that.
Just swipe
then
it.
You can just swipe, and just with a finger sort of drag, you can make it respond to it. So that sensitivity is pretty cool. So assuming that it is the same pads, which I think that they're alluding to, that's nice because they are very, very, very playable pads. Now this whole thing is quite. It is a new. I can't really think of anything that this is directly comparable.
Well, people have been saying it's a bit like Korg Electribe, which is similar. I think Electribe's a bit more expensive, but it's got a lot more synthesis and drums and other things. And as we've discovered recently, you can flash it so that it'll be an Electribe sampler or just an Electribe, the new Electribes that is. So that's what people are kind of making those comparisons to.
Electribe, good point. And of course, an iPad as well is probably the other thing running. There's a few things possibly that you could maybe align it to. However, I think that's maybe beside the point. I think the playability of those pads could be the real, the real killer feature on it. I love the fact it's got a built-in speaker. I know people can be sometimes a little bit down on little speakers. For instance, in the Volkers, they're not necessarily amazing quality speakers, but the fact when you've got that speaker built in there, it just means, when you're just doodling on your own, you sort of kind of tune into that speaker anyway, and that becomes your world.
Right.
Even though you're in that little micro world there, but so I love seeing speakers.
I wonder how it will sound. That'll be that's going to be the key thing, really, isn't it? Is what it actually sounds like. And I mean, I think the thing about the Mini Nova, which is it's a sub Mini Nova. It's not as fully featured synth engine as a Mini Nova. The Mini Nova I quite enjoyed, but it felt like there's quite a lot of DSP and stuff going on there, and it just sort of didn't have whatever that fairy dust sort of stuff is. I'm not talking analog necessarily. But
I think that the thing I'd like to talk about it is that this mini key debate that's been raging recently with
this sort of sidesteps that neatly, doesn't it?
The refaces and stuff. Well, it does, but occupying a similar kind of footstep. And I mean, when you're playing in musical modes, you've got the whole pad collection. Is that right, or is it just two lanes?
I'm trying to remember. I don't know that I have that information. I remember there's a way where one of it's like a keyboard and one of it's like a sequencer. So I'm not entirely, because it's sort of half a launch pad, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I'd love to play on one, and I'd love to see how they do that, because when I was playing with the Launchpad Pro, trying to play chords and things, it's quite confusing. But then it dawned on me that was tuned in fourths on the Launchpad Pro, which is just the same as my bass guitar. As soon as I made that realization, suddenly I could see all the scales and chords, everything then. So if they've done it like that with tuned in fourths, you can do some pretty cool musical performance then. And I mean, well done to Novation. I've got to be honest. I think they've... Yeah,
it's innovating, which is a sort of play on their word. I'd just like to point out in the chat room, I think it's MarctheDarc said it's also a disco dance floor for ants, which I quite liked as a kind of concept there. If you just imagine the lights flashing. Robbie, what do you make of it? I mean, I'm guessing it's probably not something that you would necessarily reach for yourself, although you're an OP1 user, right?
I'm an OP1 user, and obviously I'm a Launchpad user. All 16 of them in my two US and UK rigs. But
you represent the sales for the very specific postcode,
yeah, exactly. So I think like you say, what they seem to be good at Novation recently is you can see them really homing in on what the core products are that really make them, that they've got going for them, and finding ways to kind of innovate and kind of expand on them without just regurgitating like Mark II, Mark III. It does feel like they're genuinely thinking about new kind of fitting into areas that other people aren't necessarily filling. And this definitely feels like something slightly left field to what everyone else has got out there. So yeah, and for the money, I think that's really
it's like 249 quid, which you
could use it as well, presumably you could use it like a launch pad, I'm guessing.
I guess it does output. It outputs across a number of different MIDI ports over USB, I believe.
So you can probably use it to do clip triggering as well as all the other stuff. So it's quite. I think it's quite a nice little product. I think they'll do very well with that.
I'm just trying to see what the price of Electribe. Yeah, it's not far off. Electribe S and ESX2 and are only about 60 quid more. Just for the record, in case that might influence anything. Mark, I don't know. I have a feeling that this might suit you somehow. I don't know why I'm saying that. I've just got a feeling.
Oh, it does. I seems like incredibly good value for money as well. I started watching the first clip, your clip that you sent, and he demonstrated all the drums, and I thought, oh God, not another kind of like analog sounding kind of kick, and that rim shot sounds like a 909, and now it doesn't. But what I realized is I really like the snare, because while I was busily kind of like character assassinating all the other drum sounds, I sort of realized that I really like the snare.
They're all samples.
Modeled synthesizer. Yeah, they're all samples.
But you can't change. You can't change the samples, no.
But I don't know if you noticed this, because I actually had to watch all the reviews in the end, because as I watched the reviews, I thought, okay, so it's got 4 drums. So it's got a kick, a snare, a knocky noise like a rim or whatever, and a hi-hat. So I thought there's 4 drum sounds, and I listened to all the demos. Oh, there's not 4 drums, there's 4 pads.
There's 4 pads with something like 32.
It says 4 parts drum machine. So then I got to the point where I started thinking, well, hang on a minute, I haven't heard, and if you listen, I didn't hear an open hi-hat in any of the demos until right towards the end. And I was thinking, God, can this thing not do open hi-hats? And I was thinking, this is really weird. But
no, it does. You can select whatever sample you want on whatever pad. And I think the thing about the macro controls is they control I think for the drums they're fixed, but for the synth voices they just become macros for whatever that synth voice has been programmed as. There was some. Okay. I did ask Ollie if it was possible to access the finer granularity of the sample, the synth voices. Via maybe software, and he said not at the moment, but it's something that they might consider. I mean, they've got all sorts of plans. I mean,
presumably it's a DSP in a box, and it could be made to do pretty much anything. And like Gaz says, none of the knobs have got
basically
logos on them. Logos, that's not the right word, is it?
There's no labels.
So it could be a future. So this is the thing, it depends how far forward they support it. I've just bought a Launchpad Pro as well, so I'm like now going, oh, maybe I should have bought one of these. When I used to go on tour, the one thing you want to do when you're sitting around in airports is find something to do with your hands. And I know we've got iPhones and iPads and stuff now, and that it kind of fulfills a function. But I used to have a QY20, and I absolutely loved it because of the simplicity, and it gave me a very specific set of rules to work with. And I'm just thinking that this is really my next QY20. It could well be. The thing with the speaker, you could use it in the bath. You
could. The thing that's quite interesting about it is I know that there's, the new Electribes have a lot more going for them in terms of voices, and possibly some of the demos and people are posting jams are really impressive, and you can do lots of sort of song stuff. But it's quite impenetrable as an operating system. It's quite, whereas what they've done with the circuit is to make things very simple and straightforward. So it's much quicker to get going. I mean, you might not have.
It seems to show you things. The grid
Yeah,
and the
it'll
lights seem
give
to
you
show you a hell of a lot of information.
effects levels, pans, all of that, trigger points, all of those kind of things. And the other thing that was kind of interesting, you've got parameter lock for every single parameter of the macros, but you can also not play the sequence and just hit the steps, and the parameter locks will spit out. So you can trigger a voice on each step, and it can have a different characteristic of sound, if you like, because where you're playing
That's
it. So
cool.
that's quite an interesting.
Well, I was wondering if that's how the hi-hat opened and closed, because I thought all you've got to do is have a long open hi-hat sound, and you can just use a Mac.
Yeah, well, that's true.
A length thing to
save yourself.
But it says on here, so if it's 6-voice polyphony, does that mean 6-voice polyphony for everything all at once?
2 synths, each have got 6 voices.
Each is 6-voice polyphony.
And then 4 drums. So it's, what's that,
4
12?
drums
16.
as well as that.
16.
Right.
Yeah.
But you could have more than 4 drum
No.
sounds running in a pattern at once?
No,
or
you can't. Sorry,
they're
Gaz.
fixed on those. Okay.
The strength of the colours coming off the Launchpad Pro, how vivid and nice they are in daylight, and obviously that. So when it's dark, I'm assuming they're going to have the same. I
guess. I mean, it would make sense. They might.
Well, yeah. But remember that the with push, for example, the lights are much brighter when you use the power supply, and I think we found that out as well, didn't we, Gaz? When you plug in the power supply for the Launchpad Pro, they get much brighter.
It's not.
Can
you use a power supply with this?
I think it's got no. It does. I think it does have a power supply.
USB.
Yeah, I think it's USB powered, I believe. But
so presumably, if you then plug it in with that, then you will get, because I mean that's important. I could fall foul of that all the time, particularly playing summer festivals. Even with power, things like the push, which are really bright. They're quite struggle to see sometimes.
When we did the review, though, we found that the difference between the powered and the unpowered with the Launchpad Pro wasn't that huge, actually.
No, it was quite minimal.
You need a little umbrella. Yeah. A little umbrella over your keyboard ring to keep the sun out.
Believe you me, we're talking about this. The amount of time I've spent with my face pressed against the laptop, literally cannot see what is going on.
Maybe you can get some special polarizing lenses that will filter out the light and only point. So, because I know you can do that with certain things. So the light coming straight at you is much brighter than things coming at different angles. Maybe that would work.
You get those little hoods that you get for graphic designers use, for photographers
and Victorian photographers.
Yeah, exactly. One of those.
Put a big thing over your head.
There you go. Well, I'm glad we've solved that problem for you, Robbie.
Yeah.
Gaz, sorry.
Yeah, what I'd like to say, though, about this colours thing and the lack of markings on the knobs is just that the different modes have different colours. So essentially what the things are going to do based on the colour feedback that you're getting. And it was making me think about something recently. I was like comparing. I was trying to work out why I was so much in love with my Sledge over, say, something like Omnisphere 2, which is, this incredible piece of software. And I was kind of realizing with my Sledge that after a few days I could really know what all the controls do, so I could know it.
Yeah.
But I couldn't know all the sounds that I could create, but I kind of understood the framework. And with something like Omnisphere 2, it's just so utterly vast. You can never know it. You can only ever know parts of it.
Right, I see what you're saying.
That's great. So with this Novation thing, and with the kind of relatively limited amount of stuff that you can do with the amount of controls, you can, however, kind of get to that point where you really know it. And the amount of creativity that you've got within that is pretty vast. But I think it's that sort of being able to, hold it in your head.
I think that's quite a valid point. I mean, that comes down to the notion of creative limitations, I suppose, and maybe that's what they were. One thing I would say, I mean, the whole team at the press launch that we went to, it was at Red Bull Studios at London Bridge, Tower Bridge rather. They were genuinely all really excited and really on board and kind of going, oh yeah, and we found we could do this and we could do that. It's a really sort of open, expandable kind of concept, because we can just keep up coming up with ideas for it and add things to that. And I think that's got to be quite attractive, because, I mean, as we know, most companies have to, just by economics, have to kind of invest in a technology and then figure out ways to exploit it in many different ways. And it comes back to what you were saying, Robbie, about the idea that they've actually they tread that line quite well. You know, it's not just Mark 1, Mark 2, although they have done that. I mean, Launchpad Pro, Launchpad S, Launchpad, you know, I mean, yes, to a degree, but it feels like they're genuinely trying to make it better rather than just how can we dress it up in a slightly different way and charge more for it.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Let's get on to. I think maybe we'll do our. It's time for our sponsor slot. So I'd just like to play the button, see if it happens. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. If you're playing Sonic Talk Bingo, you probably are going to tick a square now. Ah, yes, Brake Tweaker. This is the Future Beat machine, I think we call it, designed by BT and developed by Isotope. It's not just a drum machine. It's kind of a sort of almost granular sample playback with rhythmic chopping and lots of really creative potential there. Modulation of lots and lots of parameters. It's a beat sequencing and sculpting environment that it sort of blurs the line between rhythm and melody, and it gives your beats an evolving depth that you can actually create over time and create these sort of long cyclical changes. So it's also got a comprehensive drum sample library. Comes with a massive drum sample library. You can also expand it with lots of packs. It's curated by BT, Isotope and top producers, and you can explore a kind of area of rhythmic possibilities with this forward-thinking and forward-sounding instrument. You can get your copy by going to isotope.com/BrakeTweaker. As with all of their things, there'll be a limited demo. It's just time limited though, so everything works, so you can check it out for yourself. And it was on sale, I think, till the end of September, and I think it's probably back to its original price now, but you could actually win one. In fact, we did run a competition. Well, let's do I'm going to break with tradition and go the other way around. So we'll start by announcing last week's winner. We asked you to tweet out, let me see, what was it? We asked you to tweet out Brake Tweaker and Synth Beats, and the winner is, and this is a complete fluke, the winner is somebody called @Rabid_, @Rabid Bat. That's what he calls himself, but his Twitter handle is actually @RabidBit, which is a little bit confusing, but I saw the bat thing and I thought, how appropriate somehow. So if you want to get in touch, you can, in fact, now let me know your email address, and the Isotope Fairy will deposit a full copy of Brake Tweaker into your email inbox, and you can enjoy it now, free and forever, in perpetuity. We've also got a competition this week. Brake Tweaker Isotope are giving away another copy of Brake Tweaker, and what you have to do is you tweet the hashtag FutureBeats and the hashtag Brake Tweaker to @SonicState and @Isotope Inc. Obviously, Twitter's got 140 characters. You might want to fill them up with something else, and stick a picture on it if you like. We really don't mind. Whatever you want to do, just put it up there, and our supercomputer competition picking system will choose a winner for next week. So if you want to win Isotope Brake Tweaker, tweet the hashtag FutureBeats, one word, and Brake Tweaker, one word, to @SonicState and @Isotope Inc. Once again, we thank Isotope for their continued sponsorship of the show. Excuse me. So let's see what's next. This is also happened the day after last week's podcast. So this is the Moog Mother-32, and very arty video. I'm liking somebody's waving around what looks like a massive neon tube there, but it's very effective. So the Moog Mother-32 is a monophonic single oscillator, sort of self-contained synth voice with sequencer. Fits in Eurorack. I think it's probably sort of a full width, so it'll be 19-inch rack. And it's got a lot of, it's got the Moog thing going on, which is a big deal, but it's also got lots of nice, really cute little features. This is it. Sounds lovely. I mean, obviously, another thing that's interesting I'll talk about later, but here it is. It does look very attractive. In fact, we did post a sort of artist rendition, and it looks very similar, but I guess they would have seen it. It's actually only single oscillator, and it's got limited waveforms. It's only triangle and pulse or saw, and it's a dual mode filter, which is high pass and low pass. It just looks like a lot of fun, and I'm, for one, would really like to get my hands on this. Now, I'm going to come to you, Robbie, because I know you keep saying I'm not buying any more Eurorack stuff, and I know you've got a Moog, and you said I probably won't because I've already got my rack mount. Is it Fatty or Voyager? I forget which it is you've got.
I've a Voyager rack mount edition, yeah. Which they've stopped making, haven't they? They announced it last week that the end of the Voyager.
Yes.
Yeah. Because they announced the rack mount end of that a couple of months ago. So, yeah. So, no, I am interested, but I don't think I'll get one because it just covers a lot of territory which I've already got. But I can see for people who are quite into the idea of getting something Euro-racky with some patchable stuff. I think
standalone, yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah, so I mean, because I was saying, I've got the phenol, which I'm loving, the Kilpatrick phenol. But I mean, I guess this is like it's a similar kind of all-in-one kind of approach with a little bit of patchability that you could expand to a bigger system.
It's a lovely...
But nice to have that sequencer on board and all that. So yeah, I think it's going to do very well for Moog.
I think it will too. So I got you there. Yeah, it's a clever format because it's the idea of like a single synth voice, but with everything self-contained. But you can break out some of the things that I was really interested in. Let me see. I've got a specs page here, which is actually probably not going to be all that visible here. But there are a couple of things that I thought were kind of cool. They've got a programmable CV out, which has got 16 functions, so it can do a number of different things, which is kind of going into the territory of some of the like expert sleepers things and some of the things which just do stuff, and you just program it up to be, and the abstract data octo controller, things like that just to output lots of different format things. That's a really cool idea. So they've obviously taken on board lots of what's happening in the Eurorack world, but made it obviously Moogie or Mogi. £499 UK pounds, $599 US dollars. I don't know, Gaz.
Well,
you bought a sledge.
I just bought a sledge. Yeah. Very nice. It's the Moog Volca. And
yep, I suppose that's a way of looking at it.
And I think that it really would come into its own with those rather nifty rack stands. I think that's a superb idea of Moog getting that in from the beginning. I think that's because I mean,
yeah, that's a lovely looking thing, isn't it? And they're selling patch cables as well. I mean, if that's clever. Yeah. Moog patch cables, yes please. Everyone's going to want them, aren't they?
Borrowed. That stand's borrowed from the OP1 because they make a stand where you can put 3 OP1s like that.
Okay. Well,
yeah. Or
imitation is the best form of flattery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it really is an attractive thing, isn't it? They've got that right. Because it's kind of following this thing that we've seen with the Volcas, the Roland Boutique, etc. These things which are, they're not going to take up a lot of space. They'll work on the desktop and work in Eurorack in this case as well, which, I'm kind of surprised they didn't do that with the Boutique in a way, make them possible, just to make it a possibility.
Well,
like the
you never know what's coming, do you? Because they did it with the System 1, so I mean, I'm sure it's entirely possible.
Yeah, a good point. But these things, you can kind of look at a single one and think, well, there's only the one oscillator on there, and there's that enormous 32-point patch bay, which is super impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
But just how much each one that you get, just how huge the possibilities come of the routing.
Absolutely, there's a lot of possibilities there. I know, Mark. You sorry.
All I was going to say was that maybe it's quite nice that maybe you can just buy one and then save up for the next one, rather than having to maybe lay out £1,500 or something on.
Yeah, that's true.
On all of them, so you could sort of build up to it.
Hi, Mark. You said at the beginning of the show that you might be in some sort of purchasing kind of phase of your behaviour because everything was attractive to you. Was this one of the things that you were thinking?
What is going on with that price? Doesn't it? That does seem a bit kind of attractive, doesn't it? I like Moog's things. Moog. Whatever they're called, I like them anyway. It does look nice, doesn't it? I don't know what else to say about it. Well, you know what? I mean, it sounded really nice, and that little tune that they're playing there is that's my favourite chord sequence. So I'm like going, I want to write something over that.
So they've emotionally got you already, have they? Yeah.
With that kind of the forest
Yeah,
sequence.
that's right. Yes, I was thinking The Cure, The Forest as well. Yeah, I tell you what.
Can I go?
Yeah.
I was going to just say, can I do a backwards jump to the other topic, just very quickly?
Okay.
What I've discovered is, and I should have researched this before, of course, so it's very bad of me. The circuit can be powered by a 12-volt DC power supply. There you go.
There we go.
Now,
Well,
with that complete pattern interrupt, what were we saying? Moog.
What I was going to say. I mean, the thing that was more striking about this is quite often with synth demos, you know, they're naked and you hear the raw things. What struck me about this particularly was the fact that they've really gone full on for the sort of ambient noodling vibe, which is big, you know, and it's definitely there's a ton of reverb on this stuff, and it sounds like it could be an Eventide H9 or something like that. And I'm just curious as to what you think about that, because I mean, did you think it might herald a new series of demo styles which are less about banging techno beats and more about sort of floaty ambient stuff? That would be.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Please.
I mean, yeah, let's hope so. Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of like if you had some vintage hi-fi in the corner and you went out and you bought one of these and you put it in the corner, it wouldn't look out of place. I love wooden end cheeks on things. I mean, I almost feel like I need to now go out and buy a piece of wood and glue it on the side of my Launchpad Pro. It's like, you know, I think
Robbie's going to have a fit.
What, it would probably be a fabulous business for somebody making wooden end cheeks for all things that don't have them, apart from Nick, who paints all of his wooden end cheeks black and painted his Prophet 5 matte black because he couldn't stand the fact it was made of wood. But I disagree with
white.
him.
Yeah,
I had it all done white because I can't bear the wood.
Really?
Yeah, I can't bear it. Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
They did also announce Eurorack cases as well, didn't they?
Yes, there we go. So, I mean, what's really smart about this is they're kind of getting the whole gamut, aren't they? Because I can't afford a Mother-32, but what I might do is buy a 60 HP Eurorack case, which doesn't have a power supply, by the way. That's for $99. That's a bargain, and that's got wooden end cheeks. Or you could buy some patch cables.
I've got So what about another aesthetic question here? Aesthetic. If I buy one of these, a Mother-32, and I want to put it in a Euro rack, do I have to take the wooden end cheeks off to fit it in the Euro rack, or do they stay on?
I would imagine so. Yes, I would say. Yeah. Well, you could save them and stick them, cut them up and stick them on or you could get all around the entire edges of all of your launch pads, apart from the USB slot.
I could glue them all over the floor and have like a
for sale. They've got a whole range of them. I didn't really look at that.
Well, let's have a look. Hold on, let me see. If I go $13.99 for a pack of what looks like 4, and you can get them in 12-inch or 6-inch. So they haven't gone for the full super long. 12 inches.
Why are you going to buy those?
Because
do they have the logo on the?
Well, that's what I was. I don't know if I can.
That's what it'll be. If they got the logos on the jacks, then they'll sell like hotcakes.
I'm just trying to see if I can zoom in. Let me see. Let's see if we can do a bit of Blade Runner style photo. That doesn't look to me like there is. That's a big mistake, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Hold on, let's have a look. I can't see it. That's a shame. That's a mistake. Right there, they should have done. Then they'd sell tons of them because people who couldn't afford, they could afford. You could buy the case or the rack, or the patch, or if you're not.
What they could do, like those really pro jack cables that have like the little round button on the side. They could buy a whole load of wooden tiddlywinks with the Moog logo and glue them on the side.
Yeah, I think that might affect the profitability of the exercise, but yeah, it might keep a few ne'er-do-wells in employment in the Asheville area, I suppose. Yeah, really nice though, and I'm really loving the fact. In fact, if you check on the site, there are a whole bunch of demos from various people, Erica, Banahafar, Max Ravitz, who are doing these really kind of beautiful ambient noodles, and I'm a big fan of that. And some of them are really delightful. I mean, maybe Moog should do a kind of a reverb that does that as well, because that would make sense. I don't know what they're using. I mean, it might be an H9 or it might be one of the kind of onboard,
oldie thing.
In fact,
What else is in this form factor? I mean, if I buy one of those 3-tier rack things, do I have to put 3 Mother-32s in it, or are there other things I could put in there?
I think you could put
mix and match things a bit.
No, what you could do is buy. I don't think we got it here, but you could buy the case, and then put the case. So you can have a Moog. Yeah, so you could put some of those in as well. So these 60 HP Eurorack cases, you take the wooden cheeks off those, and that would fit in as well. So you could. So it's a very smart bit of accessorization there, I think. So excellent.
I was going to say one thing. It is also fair to play devil's advocate that when you put a nice big shimmery modulated reverb like that on, you can make anything sound nice and
that's absolutely fair enough. Yeah, I mean,
I'll boot into a reverb like that and it sounds good,
but in the same way that a guitar into an overdrive pedal kind of pretty much is a similar sort of a thing, isn't it? That everybody would. Yeah, so I think I think that's fair enough. I think
it does sound nice.
It did sound nice, and certainly in some of the demos, the Max Ravitz ones, there are a couple of demos there where there's just a massive amount of bottom end on the lower notes of the sequence, and it does sound really sort of plummy, and it has that Moog thing going on, which is obviously something that people are going to want. Right. Now here we are. I think oh, good Lord, what's going on there?
Sorry, Howard was trying to FaceTime me from America.
Okay. We're busy. Anyway. We're busy. Right. This came out. This is actually now out. So let me see. So officially, this is the kind of big topic, I guess. This is the brand new MPC Touch. I've got a video. I'll see what it is. This is I don't forget what this guy's called, but it's Hip Hop Dude who is happy to tell us he's in it.
This is Needles, multi-platinum, Grammy Award-winning producer.
Yeah, good for you, mate.
Now, I'm right here with this thing right here. See this?
I do.
MPC Touch.
Actually, there's not an awful lot of information in that, apart from some beauty shots of it, which I've actually also got on the webpage here. But this is the new MPC Touch, which is effectively the new... Well, it's a controller. Let's get that straight. It's not actually a standalone one. This is something that's a bit unclear, certainly in the press release. You have to dig a bit deeper. But it's got a 7-inch colour multi-touch screen. It's got the 16 pads. It's got the Q-Link buttons. What's interesting about this is they've gone for the slightly different layout. So that's the touchscreen there. There's somebody got some interesting coloured nail varnish on there. That's interesting. Anyway, that's really by the by. And then that's the back of it. It looks like it's very similar in concept to the Renaissance, but it's using this kind of new form factor, the touch surface, and that side of things. I mean, I wonder how, because as we know, many music creators are quite conservative with a small c when it comes to change, and moving the pads to that side and the Q-Link buttons, might be something that people get a bit uppity about. In fact, Corey Banks, who's bboytechreport.com, who comes on the show, but he sent an email saying he can't come in, but he's starting to hear lots of people who are getting a bit, I'm not sure about that. And now, Gaz, you've seen this in the flesh because you got a private audience, right?
Yeah, so I had a really, really great play around with it. And, the first thing I have to mention is when I first clapped eyes on it, the aesthetics of it are really lovely. It's got a very high quality finish to it, which immediately gives it a... I want to play with it, kind of, which I think is quite an important thing. Now, about the layout of it, it feels quite right to me. I mean, I am right-handed, so it to have the touchscreen there where your right hand would fall and the knobs where your right hand are, and then you bring your hand over to play the performance. I think that feels right. Quite good. I mean, people are kind of saying, well, they're going to have to be playing with their right hand and reaching over. And I think that's, I think that is a valid thing. But there's a new paradigm to working with it. And I think that's what people aren't necessarily thinking about. That touchscreen, the sort of buzz about it is, it's like the best of glass and the best of hardware. So that they're really trying to make the touchscreen an integral part of it. Right. But as we all know, hammering on pads on a iPad or something is a pretty horrible experience. So having the pads there for that tactile interaction, and then the screen for things like waveform editing. Now the waveform editing on it is very
is it very
nice.
is it because most touchscreens are a bit laggy, aren't they?
Oh no, it did feel very snappy and responsive. And like there's like a menu button. When you go to the menu button, you get large, big icons, and you sort of realize, wow, this is actually the workflow on this is pretty cool. I think that the griping that's going on is something that people should just wait until they've had a go with it, because it does kind of ask a different approach, and I think that's a really good thing, because it's kind of moving things along a little bit. Just being able to use that thing that we've all experienced now with touch devices for as I say, for instance, pinch and that kind of thing, makes a lot of the tedious bits of working with some other things, it really sort of makes you go, wow, this is
it's got a bit more integration. The thing for me is I think perhaps people were sort of hoping or expecting for some sort of standalone thing, and that would have been, but obviously this isn't. It's tied to the software. So
what you have to remember though is that there's been an enormous development of the MPC software, the actual, and it really is kind of heading in a DAW direction. I guess at some point it's going to become a fully fledged DAW, but it might be too big a step to sort of abandon that, because with every iteration of the MPC software, they
get further apart. Hardware would be harder to be as good. Yeah, I see. But
this does have integrated audio interface into it, so so the idea of laptop and that is quite a nice.
I agree. I mean, I would like to have seen more outputs, because obviously it's nice to be able to bust things out and use it. If you have more outputs than inputs, or that would make sense. But there's not a lot of room for that kind of.
What's very annoying with the design? Look, mini jack MIDI.
It's mini jack MIDI.
Massive, and massive space for MIDI ports. So that is my there's plenty of space for MIDI ports on there. So so we're seeing it again, mini jack MIDI. Now let's just hope we mentioned in the review with the Launchpad Pro, which has mini jack MIDI, just for a standardization industry wide. If you're going to use mini jack for MIDI,
let's have a MIDI standard.
Come on, everyone, let's agree. Korg have gone one way. And that's going to just be a nightmare in the future. People are going to go, hey, mini jack MIDI, let's just link these two things up. Why isn't it working? Tech support, blah, blah, blah,
Have you got the right lead? Schoolboy error. I know, Mark, I don't know, you're not really MPC based. Does this sort of thing entice you? Would you prefer something standalone if this was going to be something that you were going to go for? It would make sense.
Not probably not. I mean, I remember when the MPC came out and I looked at it, and in fact, the thing I really loved that was before the MPC, which is probably why everyone uses MPCs, is the Prophet 440.
The Studio 440. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, lovely thing. And then Ensoniq kind of did a version of it as well, which was called an ASRQ something or another. I can't remember. But the thing about the MPC for me was this thing, it was a great big thing that didn't have as much sampling memory as an S900 or an S1000, and I couldn't get my head round the point of it when I could sequence things on other things. But then I wasn't very good at playing in time 25 years ago, so I didn't notice that it had tighter timing than and that was the point of it. I don't know. No, I'm very much if I've got it on a computer screen and I can draw things with pens and I can see scrolling pianos and all that sort of stuff, it just makes more sense to me like that.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, I like the look of this thing. It does look like a child's toy, but I can't quite remember which one. And it's gone a bit one too many and you might turn Bertie. I think it looks a bit like it's a nice selection of licorice all sorts.
Yes, they're the top ones there.
Especially the purple ones.
You could pluck them out and there'd be another 2 layers there. That's a very.
I mean, I don't know. I'd quite like to try one just to see what it's like. But
well,
I'm not going to go out of my way to try one. The other thing that's tells me I should.
The other thing that's quite interesting about this is it says on the Akai website that the Renaissance and the I forget what the other one's called are not actually OSX El Capitan ready yet, so I'm guessing this might move things on a bit. I know, Robbie, does this? I mean, you use push. You've got pad controllers. I mean, obviously with more pads on them, a launch pad. I mean, is the MPC thing? Does this make you?
I don't know. I'm a bit like Mark in that. I mean, my only ever sequencer that wasn't on a computer was a D20. That was my first ever sequencer on a Roland D20. Wow. That was my only experience of ever working without screen. And from then I was straight onto Ataris. And so I've always had a so I've never been into that pattern-based all-in-one unit, although I've got Machine, which I use for inputting stuff because I think the pads feel great. And I've got Push because I use it live with Ableton. And I quite often like just loading up live with the Push, without even looking at the computer and just having a noodle and make something and then just port it straight into Logic. So I guess that's about as near as I get to that all-in-one workflow. I mean, I had Tempest as well, but again, I ended up using it for the sounds more than wanting to sequence on it. So I think you have to come from that kind of way of working to really, really appreciate it. So I kind of look at it and go, it looks nice. It looks like it's a nicely built thing, but I cannot think where that would fit into.
There is something though. I should mention though. It does have step sequencing in it as well, which is taking the MPC workflow maybe in a different way and maybe bringing it more into the sort of synth world.
Does that work in standalone, or does it have to be in the? Because that would be interesting if it did. I mean, because the thing that strikes, if you look at the screen here, the thing that strikes me about that is obviously if the OS is on the computer and it's got to move all of that data of waveforms and redraws and all of that stuff, it seems like an inefficient way of utilizing probably the DSP or whatever there is on the hardware. I'd be interested to know a bit more about that to see if that was the case, and maybe you could use it as a standalone. If it flipped into a standalone mode that you could use for MIDI sequencing, that could be a concept that would be worth exploring.
Just for me.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, once you've been brought up working with computers and all the various genesis of how computing sequencing has got so advanced, to me, I work at such a nano level with so much of the stuff I do. Just the idea of working on something that's kind of got a rudimentary set of tools in comparison is not appealing to me for the kind of work I do, because I want to get into things at sample level and do all sorts of really finite detail, and I know the idea of these things is it's meant to be quick, vibey workflow, but it just depends on the kind of thing you do, I think, as to whether that suits.
This does give the wave editing is exceptionally impressive on this, and especially going right in onto zooming it into samples and using your fingers to do that. And the way that you can just leap between the different kind of by hitting the pads, choose a different sample, zoom. It is a pretty impressive workflow, and I think that.
Here's a devil's advocate thing, but what's wrong with just having a remote on the iPad that you could use the iPad for zooming in for sample edit? You don't really need to necessarily have
I like that idea.
Hardware, but you want to.
I think. Yeah, I was going to say the problem with all of this sort of stuff is that if that is a controller and Akai have done this a lot actually, because I've got a couple of Akai things down there that don't work anymore because I don't have any way of interfacing them. Is that this is going to end up being a very expensive doorstop at some point in the not too near future. And by not too near future, I mean in less than 6 years' time, because computing kind of rolls on this 6-year cycle where anything that's more than 6 years old is unsupported and binned. So if it plugs into the computer and it needs a computer to work, or it may be 10 years' time. Somebody's going to pull this out of a cupboard sometime and in 10 years' time, and they're going to go, oh, what's this thing? This looks interesting. And they're going to go, oh, no, you need to buy a really old computer to make that work, and it won't work with the latest operating system and blah, blah, blah. And we've got too many things like this, and and we I don't know, what do we do? Create some kind of way of recycling them, or of making them. The obvious answer is that all manufacturers should have a legal obligation to make any code they cease to support open source, so that those things don't end up as doorstops.
Yeah.
But it's the same with everything, isn't it? I mean, if you buy a printer or you buy a washing machine or whatever, everything's designed so it's not easy to fix or whatever.
If I buy a printer, I'm going to go to Tesco's and pay 30 quid for it, and it gets lots of mechanical use, and it will wear out faster than it will become obsolete. So at 30 quid, I can afford to throw 30 quid in landfill and not worry too much about it. But if I...
This is just to say, this is 500 quid, so I'm guessing it's probably going to be
it's a lot of money, isn't it?
Dollars,
maybe. If it becomes obsolete even in 10 years' time, it's not.
Well, maybe it depends how much use you get out of it. I mean, I think I think that it's a valid point, and I question the notion of essentially replicating what an iPad or another touch device can already do with its heavily evolved touchscreen technology and that sort of thing. I mean, but that may be just me, and obviously an iPad plus the computer costs more than just this and the computer. Well, no, it's round about the same thing. Anyway, I don't want to dwell on it too long. You can find out more about it. It's all hitting now. Today, launched today. I think it's going to be shipping in. Let me see, shipping in November, and is going to be £499 UK, I believe.
Nick, can I just say, as a contrast, something that's shipping next week is the Social Entropy Engine hardware sequencer, standalone hardware sequencer. That's something that's been, I think, eagerly awaited, and that's actually going to be with us, shipping from next week. And that is similar to the BeatStep Pro. I mean, obviously, I think as a company, they don't have anywhere near the marketing clout as Arturia, but this has got 8 polyphonic sequence tracks on there. Each track can also be sort of arpeggiators. What's the other cool things? It's got 8 voice.
It's got a bit of a Circlone vibe to it, hasn't it? It's that sort of.
Yeah. I think it looks really cool, and it's got. What's the other cool things? There is a 16 output CV expander available for it.
Yeah,
as well.
very Circlone-y. How much does it cost?
Yeah, you can have 8 ARPs playing simultaneously.
$700. Okay, so it's a bit more expensive, but it's got. Okay, I wanted to get this other thing in quickly because. But thank you very much for that, guys. I wanted to get this one thing in quickly because I like the trailer. This is the extremely cinematic, Zimmer-esque bit of music, and it's great. I mean, you probably won't get this over Skype, but it's the sonic quality of this audio demo, even over YouTube, is really impressive. So this is the new Surface Book, which is the new generation of hardware that Microsoft, so nobody saw this coming. This is the thing; they kept it quiet. Here it comes. And they're very proud of the keyboard. It's got very new mechanisms, supposed to be very good. It's funny, isn't it? This huge cinematic, like helicopter kind of music with this tiny little thing that they're flying around. Here it comes. There, anyway. I quite enjoyed that, but this is actually quite a big deal because the new Microsoft stuff, it's a magnesium body. It's aimed squarely at the same sort of market as the MacBook Pro. It starts about $1,400, i7, i5s, up to 16 gigs of RAM, extremely fast SSDs, USB 3, and Microsoft say it's twice as fast as a MacBook Pro, and I don't know whether that what that means exactly. I mean, it's an easy thing to say, but it might be the trackpad sensor, timing or something. You just don't know. But I imagine they mean speed. This is starting to get a bit more of a kind of a bit of competition in the market is a good thing, and it's obviously this is hand in hand with the whole Windows 10 thing rolling out across multiple devices. Does this, Mark? I know you're not a big fan of you prefer to have a Hackintosh than a Macintosh, or whatever. Does this sort of thing make you think, oh, that would be nice to have on my desk? I mean, it's still quite small. I think it's 13 point something.
I'm going to be slightly obtuse. I remember when Windows 95 came out, and I'd got some other computer, and I'd always thought that Windows was rubbish, and my mate copied a file on it, and I saw this little folder with kind of like flying across the screen, and I was going, oh, I like that. So I ended up buying a PC based on that. So having just watched this video, seeing that little hinge at the back, I'm just like, whoa, that looks nice.
There is something about
so
the
I'm
hinge.
sold on the hinge. That hinge is just awesome. It's just
apparently it makes it's really good for audio latency as well, that hinge. I did have I
mean, the thing is, it's attention to detail, isn't it? And Sony have always had it. Apple have had it more recently. And if they've paid that much attention to detail and got it that right, then it means they've paid attention to detail to the rest of it. And hopefully they've got all that right as well. And yes, I know they're working very hard on making audio latency and the like a lot better for us musicians. So I just want one.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Gaz, you were nodding there.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the big Microsoft fight back, isn't it? Remembering that Windows 10 has all that MIDI API built in, so this thing is going to play well in the MIDI world, sort of just so native programs running on it. And of course, the massive thing I was blown away with was the announcement that Bitwig 1.3 has got a Surface optimized version of itself.
Really?
Or this, and I just thought, wham! Take that, Apple. This is like the first, I think,
Well, of course, and Sonar and Studio Sonar have got multi-touch as well. I don't know whether they've got as Studio 1.3 got.
Yeah, but I think Studio One it may do, but the Bitwig one really does take it to another level because it gives you a virtual instrument almost that you can do on the screen. And then and if you play it with the pen, pressure for volume and, polyphonic pitch bends and sort of filters on the kind of y-axis and, a whole bunch of cool things, but also the fact that Bitwig have taken this very seriously and they've created it's a completely different layout that's specifically for that kind of touch idiom. Wow. It's not exclusively for the Surface, but I think they made their announcement at the same time that it was, and I just thought, wow, this is an exciting, unexpected thing, and you have to wonder when are Ableton going to jump with the multi-touch thing, and I guess Bitwig doing this now and in such a kind of complete and well thought out way, I think maybe so. But now, there is one thing I'd like to mention. You see, with the Bitwig, as you touch, like when you touch on the piano roll, you can apply. I think as you apply a little bit of pressure, and then a little menu comes up, and you just slide your finger across, and you can do all sorts of kind of editing gestures. And there's some interesting videos on the Bitwig site which demonstrate that.
Well, I'll definitely have to check that out. I think, and I think also Bitwig, haven't they introduced a portable version that runs off USB key as well? But that's another thing. Robbie, what do you think about this? Is this I mean, you are a Mac guy. All your stuff is Mac. Your studio. I mean, many of us.
I've never worked a PC in my life. I do not even know the first thing about a PC. When my dad rings me up and says, I've got a problem with my computer, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it could be talking about, I don't know, some mainframe somewhere. I don't know anything about it. But having said that, I'm not going to lie to you. Over the last year or so, I have caught myself a couple of times when I've been in the States in somewhere like Best Buy looking at the Touch. What's it called?
Surface
Microsoft.
Pro.
The Surface Pro thing. Yeah. That's a nice designed bit of equipment.
Yeah, we've got one here. We've got a Surface Pro 3.
Yeah. And so on this one, again, I think like you're saying, the attention to sort of, design ethos and detail is very much designed as to try and go for the jugular of Apple, saying we can.
It makes a mockery of the iPad Pro.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's very much.
I mean, I guess. The only thing for me is, I'm such a Logic user that I'm locked into that. I will be locked into that for however long I decide that I want to be a Logic user. So although obviously Ableton, I use Ableton Live for live, but it wouldn't be enough for me to want to spend out this kind of money on something. But no, I think fair play. It's nice to see a PC looking and feeling like a real quality piece of machinery.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I'm finding quite interesting about this is the fact that obviously Apple are, that they're no longer under the steerage of Steve Jobs. So there's perhaps a perceived weakness from Microsoft that see also. The iPad Pro is still a walled garden and still doesn't run, external things, and therefore, what's just happened with is it El Capitan has broken quite a number of things in the creative environment. They haven't quite got that right. I mean, Windows. For all,
iOS 9 is a nightmare as well.
Yes, but the thing is also what's happening is that Windows 10 are doing automatic rollouts, which until they get that, so that people are confident that it's not going to break stuff. But there could be an opportunity here if Apple continue to perhaps not cross the I's.
I mean, the really significant thing about this Microsoft computer is that it uses the latest Intel processor, which is why it's
Skylab, not Skylab, it's Sky something or other. Skyline, that's it, yeah.
But Apple are way behind on that as well, and Apple don't have the faintest idea about how to create a touchscreen device in terms of OS.
Sorry, I just want to say in the chat room, I'm sure Kaspersky can still slow it down. That's a very good point. Yes, the
because the thing is, they've said they don't want to make their computers touchscreen, and they said it wouldn't be possible to go in that direction. So, I mean, I'm guessing they've not been developing it because they've been steadfastly saying they're not going to. So, unless they've been doing it secretly, of course. But
sorry, Robbie,
they're behind the curve.
I was just going to say, I mean, I've been getting all these emails from all my software developers saying, warning, El Capitan not compatible, don't install. And it's just common sense, like we've always said. I mean, you just come to expect. I'm not even on what's Yosemite or Yosemite, as I like to call it, just to annoy people. But I'm not on Yosemite yet either. I mean, it's just common sense. You don't jump in and do it.
Yeah, well, so, I suppose
fair enough that there's a few things that are broken. Give it a couple of months and they'll all be sorted out again.
But I suppose the thing is if you're having this kind of, they're going very much head to head in the same space, but Microsoft offering is a standard processor and will run a standard operating system in terms of a Windows based one anyway. So there is an opportunity here that if it all comes together in the right way, there could be at least a bit more of a sort of parity. You might see people jumping ship a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think so.
Well,
I'd like to think that it might happen. That would be good, and it does look very attractive. And obviously, I'll be contacting my Microsoft contacts to see if they can send any evaluation units over, because there's also a Surface Pro 4 as well out, but that has the same thing, which is the breakable cover. So that's the thing that
the only reason Apple aren't doing it is they just want to keep a very clear divide, don't they?
Yeah.
As soon as they make they make a laptop that's a laptop stroke a iPad, they basically make very
lose
difficult
half their thing.
Yeah,
it's like
it's. I think
the iPad Pro's kind of failure to have a data, a way to still not have an easy way of backing up data when you're working in the field. Call it Pro. If you're a pro and you're working, you've got to be able to have, to be able to back up the data, to have that data thing. The ability to have huge amounts of storage that it doesn't have, and that is still like what are they? The base model 32 gig, is it, or something?
Yes, I'm not sure.
So I mean that alone gives the Surface Pro just when you're working in video and audio.
And I mean the other thing that's good about it's got 2 USB 3 ports, whereas the Surface Pro 3 only has the single one. The Surface Pro 4, I don't know what the specs are yet. I mean this one came in yesterday, and they hadn't kind of the specifications hadn't been propagated. Definitely worth checking out. Anyway, it feels like that's probably a good time to stop, because I've got things to do and get off. I want to say thank you very much to everybody. It's been a pleasure having you aboard. Before we go, I just want to say, of course, don't forget the Isotope competition. If you want to try your hand at winning a copy of Isotope Break Tweaker, tweak the hashtag FutureBeats and Break Tweaker to @SonicState and @Isotope Inc. And don't forget to subscribe to the Sonic Talk, Sonic State YouTube channel or the iTunes feed as well, because we post this in MP3 as well. So anyway, let's get back and we'll say thank you very much, Gaz, for joining us this week. It's been a pleasure having you aboard.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, good, exciting times again.
Yes, it does feel like it, doesn't it? The summer's over. You can tell, can't you?
Yeah. So yeah, let's see. I wonder what's coming soon.
Who knows? And also, Robbie Bronnimann there. I'm sure your client is eager to start recording again. So thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us.
No problem. Pleasure.
Excellent. And of course, Mark Tinley as well there. Thank you for joining us too.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
That's you're welcome. Right, that's it for this week. I want to say thank you very much to everybody. Thanks to the chat room. I'd just like to say we nearly broke 200 in the chat room. That's for a live stream. That's not bad at all, considering everybody should probably be at work. So that's it for this week. We'll say goodbye, and I will fade to black. See you later. Oh, I don't know what that was.
Sorry, it's me.